Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Tuesday. I have a couple thoughts that have been on my mind because for some little while I've gotten the impression that the powers that be are just toying with us for the hell of it. Now, when I say that, I mean toy with people more than usual because control freak authoritarians are always going to mess with people because that's who they are, it's what they do. It's just behavior that's an outgrowth of their character, or lack thereof, I should say. But during the past 2 years, that behavior has really grown by leaps and bounds, so much so that I've been struck with the sheer recklessness of it all, because this isn't a risk-free behavior. Because whether you're dealing with a single individual or a large population of people, even the worst of the control freaks will admit that people can only be pushed so far before they snap, and they do incredibly astonishing things. Even the more self-aware control freaks, they have been known to admit that it's better not to be seen in indulging that behavior because it increases opposition and increases the probability of people snapping and losing their minds and doing goodness knows what. That's why generally we observe a gradual erosion of freedom that takes place over a longer period of time. It's easier for people to ignore, easier for them to pretend that it isn't happening or that it just won't affect them if they keep their heads down and go along to get along. And of course, this is what enables the authoritarians to get away with usurping power from the people. So compare that slow, steady process with what's going on today. And I mean on a literal daily basis, because it seems that, almost every single 24-hour cycle, there's some control freak or another that is seeking to impose some manner of insanity onto people. And it's just one blow after the other. It never ends. And it goes so fast that no one has a chance to catch their breath. And it's rendering daily life intolerable and impossible for a growing number of people, which is why we're beginning to see signs of serious resistance, despite Legacy's media's best attempt to just pretend that it isn't happening. They're trying. They're not succeeding, but they are trying. So the question that comes up into my mind is, are the authoritarians really this stupid? Because this is an astonishing degree of stupidity. Or is it more likely that they're just playing a game of chicken with the public, seeing how far people can push, and then they pull back a little when people get a little upset, and then they push forward again, just trying to get that boundary further and further, and calculating that they'll always manage to stay just under the people's limit, and they'll avoid provoking a complete rebellion. Now, more often than not, if stupidity can explain something, it is the most likely explanation. And there are other factors to take into consideration. One thing is that the powers that be are incredibly detached from anything that even remotely resembles normal life. They absolutely cannot relate to people, and it shows every time they open their mouths. And of course, the reason why they can't relate is because they've avoided interacting with the average citizen like the plague. Because they look down on us, they think they're above us, they think they're better than us, despite all evidence to the contrary. So we have this misplaced snobbery combined with stupidity, and then you have a hefty dose of what I think is genuine and possibly deliberate ignorance of human nature, and it goes a long way towards explaining our current events. But I think the most arrogant assumption on the part of the control freaks is that they think they're not going to miscalculate, that they've got it under control, or if by chance they drive people to extremes, that the situation will be manageable and they'll still come out on top. And this is what the behavior of public figures, both in our country and around the world, this is what it's really communicating to me. They have this unwarranted confidence that they're going to just successfully lead the entire world into feudalism 2.0. They'll make it stick, then they'll keep their positions at the top of the pyramid for all of time, or at least until old age finally gets them. So there are obvious flaws to this train of thought, regardless of the various mechanisms of control that the lunatics have already imposed or that they intend to impose. The reality is that the more complex a system is, the more prone it is to breaking down. I mean, just look at computers. It is also more vulnerable to sabotage. Again, computers. Things are always more fragile than what they first appear. And so to risk the total collapse of whole civilizations for the sake of gaining an amount and degree of power that no one is competent to wield, That is insanity in the most literal sense of the term. I mean, you are sowing the seeds for your own failure when you go this route. But I mean, that's what they're doing. So, why does this dicey game of chicken continue? I think the short answer is because no one has made them stop. The authoritarians flatter themselves into thinking that they are an unstoppable force, and they will be able to continue on in this illusion until they encounter an immovable object. Sooner or later, they will. And what happens after that will depend upon who ultimately prevails in that particular power struggle, and whether or not the people who have sensible ideas are able to rise up from the ashes. But I think that's what's actually going on. This is the only theory that doesn't lead me into conspiracy land, and that still fits the behaviors that we are able to observe in broad daylight. So let me know what you think. You can come see us at Blackbird's Brew on Discord. There's a link to join in the description box below. Or you could leave a comment here in this channel. And of course, please subscribe and please like, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.